They told him no. So he showed up and did 3 things at once. Picture this. You submit your request to NASCAR. You want to race. And they look you dead in the eye and say no. Not maybe. Not, let's revisit this. Just no. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Dale Earnhardt Jr., goes on his podcast and tells the world that you need to slow down, that you're not ready, that you should go back to ARCA, run every short track, run laps on a Tuesday when nobody's watching. Most people would fold. Most people would say, okay, they're right, and go home. But Cleetus McFarland is not most people. Because this weekend at Michigan International Speedway, he's not just showing up to race. He's showing up as the Grand Marshal. He's running the ARCA race on Friday, and he's strapping into a Truck Series car on Saturday. 3 rolls, 1 weekend, 1 2-mile oval, and a bald eagle on the door. This is not a comeback story. This is a statement. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what that statement means, where Cleetus has been, what he's been through, what Dale Jr. actually said, and whether Michigan is the moment that changes everything, or the moment that raises harder questions than ever before. Let's get into it. Who is Cleetus McFarland? For those of you who are new here, welcome. You've stumbled into one of the most fascinating stories in motorsport right now. Cleetus McFarland is the online persona of Garrett Mitchell, a guy who built one of the biggest automotive YouTube channels on the planet by doing burnouts, wrenching on cars in his backyard, and being genuinely, authentically, unapologetically himself. He owns the Freedom Factory, a literal NASCAR oval in Bradenton, Florida that he bought and turned into a playground for gearheads. He's not a factory-trained racing prospect. He didn't come up through karting at age 5. He didn't have a sponsor backing him since middle school. He came from the internet. He came from the people. And now he's trying to do something that almost nobody in his position has ever seriously attempted. He's trying to make it in NASCAR. Not as a guest. Not as a one-off celebrity appearance. For real. And his partner in crime through all of this? His best friend and fellow content creator, Squirrel McNutt. Real name George Sicilian. Same energy. Same grind. Same dream. Both of them. Racing at Michigan this weekend. But before we get to Michigan, we need to go back to the beginning. Because the journey to this point has been anything but smooth. The season so far, every single result. Let's go through every result of the 2026 season, because together they tell the real story of where Cleetus stands as a driver right now. Daytona, February. The very first race. The ARCA Menards Series. Daytona International Speedway. One of the most iconic tracks in the world. He finishes 11th. Not bad. Actually decent for a debut at Daytona in ARCA. He gets through it. He learns. He survives. But then comes the main event. His NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut with Nice Motorsports. 6 laps. That's all it lasted. Coming off turn 4, he loses control. He makes a small overcorrection. And that's it. The truck is in the wall. He finishes 37th, dead last. Now here's what the people watching at home don't always understand. Daytona looks easy on TV. You think it's just drafting, right? Just sit in the pack. Let the aerodynamics do the work. But when you're 3 wide, surrounded by drivers who have done this hundreds of times, and turbulent air is coming off 5 different cars around you, the smallest mistake amplifies instantly. You don't get a second chance. Cleetus found that out the hard way. Rockingham, NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Next up, Rockingham. A completely different challenge. He's now racing in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for Richard Childress Racing. That is a serious organization. That name carries weight. Result? 32nd, 6 laps down. But, and this matters, he finished the race. For a driver still working on his approval ratings with NASCAR officials, completing laps without incident is genuine progress. The same weekend, he also runs the ARCA East race at Rockingham. And he finishes 4th. 4th. A legitimate top 5 in ARCA East. That's not a participation trophy. That's real speed. Kansas, ARCA Menards Series. Kansas Speedway. Another intermediate track. A 1.5-mile oval. He finishes 20th in the ARCA Menards Series. Not spectacular, but he's getting laps. He's building rhythm. He's learning what these bigger tracks demand. And then came the race that changed everything. Talladega, ARCA Menards Series. Talladega Superspeedway. If you have not watched the footage from this race, go find it right now. I'll wait. Cleetus McFarland, the YouTube guy, the burnout guy, The guy Dale Jr. said needed to slow down, led 19 of 76 laps. 19 laps of lead time at Talladega. And when the checkered flag came down, he was in second place. A full contact battle in the final corner with Andy Jankowiak. Jankowiak gets the win, but Cleetus? Cleetus was right there. That was the moment. That was the race that made people stop making jokes and start paying attention. He had speed. He understood the draft. He put himself in position to steal the whole thing. Talladega made believers out of skeptics. But then came Nashville. Nashville, NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. If Talladega was the high point, Nashville was the gut punch. Back in the O'Reilly Series. Back in the number 33 for Richard Childress Racing. Multiple spins. Penalties. A 35th place finish. Nashville exposed something real. The gap between ARCA and the O'Reilly Series is not just a number on a page. It's a completely different level of competition, a different margin for error, a different consequence for every small mistake. And when Cleetus makes a mistake, it doesn't just happen in front of the crowd at the track. It happens in front of millions of people watching on YouTube, on social media, on live streams. Every spin becomes a clip. Every penalty becomes a meme. Every result becomes a debate. That is the life Garrett Mitchell has chosen. And Nashville put that life on full display. Dale Jr. speaks. NASCAR says no. After Nashville, the noise got loud. And the loudest, most important voice came from Dale Earnhardt Jr. On his Dale Jr. Download podcast, during the Ask Dale segment, Jr. gave an honest, genuinely honest, assessment of where Cleetus stands. He acknowledged the mistakes. He talked about Nashville. But then he said something that a lot of people missed. He said, and I'm going to paraphrase this carefully, that Cleetus was out there running laps. He didn't ruin anyone's day, and he did fine for what he is right now. But then he went further. Junior laid out a prescription. Clear, direct, almost like a doctor writing a treatment plan. Run a full ARCA schedule. Not cherry-picked races. Not super speedways because the draft helps. All of them. Short tracks. Intermediates. Everywhere. 2 full seasons. Maybe more. And then, use the Pro Late model that Cleetus already owns. Go to the Freedom Factory. Run laps on a Tuesday. Run laps when nobody's watching. Run laps when there are no cameras, no live streams, no fans in the stands. Junior said, he's got a racetrack. I would be at that racetrack running laps right now. That is the kind of advice you only get from someone who genuinely respects you enough to be honest. Dale Jr. wasn't being cruel. He wasn't dismissing Cleetus. He was saying, the talent is there. The work ethic is clearly there. But the racecraft needs time. And there's no shortcut for time. And then NASCAR made it official. After Rockingham, NASCAR denied Cleetus approval to race in the O'Reilly Series at Talladega. The reason? He needs more short track experience. More time in ARCA. More time in the Truck Series. More laps. More learning. Cleetus responded simply. It is what it is. And then booked Michigan. Here's the thing about that response. It is what it is sounds passive. It sounds like acceptance. But what he did next was anything but passive. Because Michigan International Speedway is not a short track. Michigan is a 2-mile oval. It is the biggest non-super speedway track he has ever raced on. He's not going to a smaller track to build base miles. He's going to one of the most demanding intermediate ovals in the entire sport. And he's doing it twice in one weekend. That is Cleetus McFarland's answer to everyone who told him to slow down. The Michigan Weekend Breakdown. Okay, let's break down exactly what this weekend looks like. Because it is stacked. Friday, ARCA Menards Series, Henry Ford Health 200. Friday, June 5th, Michigan International Speedway. Cleetus is running in the ARCA Menards Series Henry Ford Health 200. He'll be in the number 30 car for Rett to Jones Racing. But that's not even the biggest announcement from Friday. Because Squirrel McNutt, George Sicilian, is also on the entry list. He'll drive the number 0 Ford for Rett to Jones Racing, using owner points from Wayne Peterson Motorsports. And the way that announcement came out? Not a press release. Not a NASCAR PR statement. It came out live on their podcast, Bald Eagles, when Cleetus looked at Squirrel and just said, asterisk, you'll be driving an ARCA car. Asterisk. That single line broke the internet for their fan base. Rett to Jones Racing is also entering a third car, Cole Raz in the number 76. 3 cars from the same team. The biggest single entry Rett to Jones Racing has made all season. And for Cleetus, Friday isn't just a bonus race. It's a critical strategic move. Those ARCA laps at Michigan on Friday are preparation for Saturday's truck race. More laps on that surface. More time learning the corners. More data on how the car behaves through the high-speed sweepers. That additional track time could be the difference between a clean run and an early exit. Saturday, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, DQS Solutions, and Staffing 250. Now Saturday. This is the main event. And before Cleetus even gets into the truck, he does something no content creator turned racing driver has ever done at a NASCAR National Series event. He stands on the grid. He grabs the microphone. And he delivers the most famous words in motorsport. Gentlemen, start your engines. Cleetus McFarland is the Grand Marshal of the DQS Solutions and Staffing 250. He described it himself. I'm fired up to serve as the Grand Marshal. I've never done anything like this before, but it's going to be a super cool opportunity to get to do this before the race. And then after those words leave his mouth, he goes and straps into the number 4 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet Silverado. Let's talk about that truck. Because Nice Motorsports unveiled the paint scheme, and it is an event in itself. Red, white, blue, massive bald eagle on the door. Comprehensive Logistics and Circle B Diecast are the sponsors. And the website on the car? baldeagle.com. Cleetus described it. It's the baldeagle.com car. I'm going to be flying like a bald eagle out here. In NASCAR, paint schemes create moments before the green flag even falls. This one already has. Whether that truck finishes 5th or 35th, it will be the most talked about truck in the garage this weekend. The teammates factor. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Cleetus isn't just showing up with a cool paint scheme and a YouTube following. Inside the Nice Motorsports garage this weekend, he has 2 Cup Series veterans as teammates. Ross Chastain, number 45, a driver with experience on nearly every track type in the country. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., number 42, a driver who understands high-speed intermediate racing as well as almost anyone in the sport. Think about what that means for a driver still building his National Series racecraft. Real data, real feedback, where to lift, how to manage dirty air, how the truck behaves when the field bunches up at a restart, how to protect corner entry when someone takes air off your nose. That is not available to every rookie who shows up at a NASCAR race. That is a genuine competitive resource, and Cleetus has access to it. Why Michigan is different. Now let me explain something that is crucial to understanding what makes this weekend so significant. Michigan International Speedway is a 2-mile oval. 2 miles. That sounds straightforward. But the way Michigan drives is unlike any track Cleetus has raced on in 2026. At Daytona, at Talladega, the super speedways, the draft does a massive amount of work. You tuck into a pack, the aerodynamics carry you. And if you stay out of trouble, momentum keeps you in the game. There's a reason Talladega produced Cleetus's best result. The draft is a great equalizer. Michigan does not have that equalizer. At Michigan, the corners require full commitment. You cannot sit in a pack and coast. You have to actively drive the truck. Every corner, every lap. You have to manage air, understand when someone's taking air off your right rear and how that changes your handling balance. You have to know when to lift and when to carry speed. You have to protect your corner entry when someone dives inside. That is a completely different cognitive and physical demand than anything Cleetus has navigated in a NASCAR vehicle so far. And he's doing it for the first time on Friday in ARCA, and then again on Saturday in the Truck Series. The good news? The ARCA laps on Friday are exactly what he needs. More time on that specific surface. More data. More rhythm in those specific corners before he has to do it in a heavier field with higher stakes on Saturday. Squirrel's journey to Michigan and Squirrel McNutt's path to this race. It's been its own story. When George Sicilian started his part-time ARCA schedule, he had the direct encouragement of his mentor Greg Biffle, a man who was a close friend to both him and Cleetus. ARCA East debut at Hickory, qualified 9th, finished 13th, 7 laps down. To earn approval for Kansas, he had to add Rockingham to his schedule, a race that wasn't even planned. He qualified 11th at Rockingham, finished 9th. At Kansas, qualifying was canceled, starting 24th. Fought through the field, finished 12th. Earned Talladega approval. And at Talladega, he was running inside the top 10 in the closing laps. Right there, making the right moves. And then the big one happened with 7 laps to go, and he was collected. Finished 29th. That's super speedway racing. Sometimes you do everything right and still go home early because of someone else's mistake. Michigan is Squirrel's next chapter. And just like Cleetus, he's navigating a 2-mile oval for the first time. So what is success this weekend for Cleetus McFarland? I want to be real with you about this. It is not a top 5 finish. It is not leading laps. It is not matching Ross Chastain or Ricky Stenhouse. Success in the ARCA race on Friday is building confidence, getting rhythm in those corners, taking mental notes that carry over into Saturday morning practice, learning where Michigan pushes you and where it rewards commitment. Success in the truck race on Saturday is staying clean, managing pit road, moving forward in traffic without triggering incidents, and finishing the race, ideally inside the top 25, without penalties or avoidable contact. A clean race. A complete race. Forward progress. That is the answer to Dale Jr.'s concerns. That is the answer to NASCAR's concerns. Not a miraculous result. Not a podium that proves everyone wrong. Just steady, serious, professional execution of a difficult weekend. Joe Fowler, the president of Michigan International Speedway, said it well when the Grand Marshal announcement dropped. He called Cleetus a natural-born entertainer and one of the biggest names in racing today. Said there's no doubt he's going to energize the crowd before putting on a show for the fans. And that's true. Cleetus is going to energize that crowd. That bald eagle truck is going to create a moment. The fans who showed up because of YouTube are going to be there, and they're going to be loud. But the result on the track? That's what matters for the long game. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Cleetus McFarland is not trying to be a celebrity racer. He is not trying to do a cool Instagram moment at a famous track and then go back to YouTube. He is building something, piece by piece, race by race, lap by lap. Some races will go great. Some will go terribly. Some weekends he'll make Dale Jr. believers out of everyone watching. Some weekends he'll remind us all why the learning curve in NASCAR is one of the steepest in motorsport. But the commitment is real. The effort is real. And this Michigan weekend, Grand Marshal, ARCA race, Truck Series race, Squirrel in the same field, the Bald Eagle truck, the 2-mile oval. This is the most complete, most ambitious, most fully realized version of that commitment on display in a single weekend. Dale Jr. said slow down. NASCAR said prove it. And Cleetus McFarland showed up at Michigan and went 3 times as big as anyone expected. Michigan either validates everything, or it raises harder questions than ever. We find out starting Friday. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe because we are going to be covering every lap of Cleetus's NASCAR journey this season. Drop a comment below. Do you think Michigan is his best weekend yet, or is it too much too soon? I'll see you in the next one.